Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Football-Oranje, your home of Dutch football. This is a reaction to England 2, Netherlands 1 in the under-21s Euros, which is happening over this summer. So the Netherlands are out at the semi-final stage. Disappointing, but probably further than some of us thought the Dutch might have gotten, having seen them in this tournament. So, Mike, Abdul, despite that disappointing game, I suppose it's not a terrible tournament overall, but we're just disappointing with some of the player selections. We were just talking about before we came on that, again, Reisger's let himself down with some of his subs. But we are live stream, so please throw in your live comments, your comments down below. Let's start the conversation. Who wants to start with their thoughts on the game?
Yeah, well, we really wanted to see Oranje under 19 and under 21 in the final. It would have been a first in the history, actually. We were really looking forward to it, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. Many people, including us, we were criticizing Reisiger this entire tournament, actually. The results were really bad from the first match till now. Only few bright moments maybe, but in general, the team wasn't really organized well enough with Reisiger selections, with the way we played. Something is missing in the team. I don't think it's the quality of the players as much as it's the coach himself. I just did not really want to criticize him until the end of the tournament to see how he's gonna perform. The match against England, I don't think anyone happy with the performance. The entire first half ended without even a single shot on target. And we were lucky not to concede any goals in the first 15 minutes, actually, because England completely dominated the match. Somehow we survived that. That should have given us more confidence to attack. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Besides the goal that came from nowhere, actually, by Ohio, it came from nowhere. It wasn't even an organized attack. Besides that, I don't recall one single moment for Oranje in this match. It was really bad and terrible. I really don't think Reisiger should stay with the Oranje under 21.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I think that going into this game, you obviously had players missing, but Reisiger from the get-go going with Casemiro at right back, and yeah, England had him on a plate the whole first half. He really struggled, and then he went off at half time to be replaced by Huss. And from then on, apart from bringing on Ohio, who as Abdul said, it wasn't even an organised attack. It was just a long ball forward. He noticed the goalkeeper off his line. It was a great finish, great goal from Ohio. Got to give him credit for it. But apart from bringing him on at that moment, that was his first touch. After that, Ohio did nothing. So you can't really say he did well. Apart from that, all the substitutions that Reisiger did made absolutely no sense whatsoever. When you're chasing a goal with 5 minutes left to play, he brings on Regier when he's got an attacking midfielder on the bench who has height and power. It makes zero sense. I'm hoping something's going to come out in the next few days when a journalist is just going to ask him straight up and just be like, why did Banzuzi not get a single minute in this whole tournament? When you're bringing on Meyer for a midfielder, you're bringing on Regier for the midfield, who's been a disaster in this tournament. And Banzuzi's just sitting on the bench when he's got something different. It makes no sense to me. I think you just got to admit that England have better quality. These players play in the Premier League week in, week out. Harvey Elliott is a Premier League winner with Liverpool. He's coming up against players that, most of them are Eredivisie starters, but some of them don't even play most regular for the Eredivisie clubs. And although Netherlands got to the stage, England had the better quality on the day. Elliot Anderson played well. Tino Livramento, I'm a big Newcastle fan, I know how great he is. And Harvey Elliott. But the criminal thing for me is that they gave Harvey Elliott just so much space. But it also comes down to the fact that the midfielders that were on the pitch at that time, you had Ryan Flamingo, who's a defender, you had Ian Maatsen, who's a defender, and you had Tom van Bergen, who's a striker. You didn't have a single midfielder on the pitch at that moment when the goal was scored, and that comes down to Reisiger's just poor substitutions. As soon as Noah Ohio scored, you should have brought off Van Bergen and put on an extra midfielder, but he didn't, and Netherlands paid the price. And yeah, I think this one goes down on Reisiger for poor team selection. Casemiro should never have been in the squad in the first place. It should have been an extra right back, and then there would have been more balance today. But yeah, it's disappointing. Fair play to England, fair play to them. But yeah, I think the team selection today was just poor from Reisler overall. And we went on after the last stream, we said about Poku starting. I think Poku's so much more effective off the bench against tired legs. In the first half, he had a couple of runs, but after that, he tired, and he had one at the end late on where he steamed past the player. If he's coming off the bench with half an hour to go, when players are tired in that heat, he can cause damage. He can't do it from the start on the left, which isn't his natural position. As soon as he switched to the right, it was a lot brighter, but he needs to do it the last 20 minutes of matches when players are tired, not throughout a game. It's just everything that Reisiger did today, apart from bringing on Ohio when he did, just was wrong.
Yeah. I know some people might talk about, sorry, Michael. I know some people might talk about, missing some players due to red cards, for example, Van Bommel or Wrench for having 2 yellows, but that's not an excuse. We started wrong, actually. I don't think with the missing players, if we played today, we would have been better. I don't think so. It's just a coaching problem with the team. I know England was physically stronger, mentally stronger. It was very obvious, as Mike said, but we could have gotten really a good result if we had a better coach maybe, or if we were more organized. The midfield was wildly open. It was really funny how the second goal was scored, although it was a nice goal, but the way we just allowed him to take the midfield and score, it was very amateur, really. I don't want to be harsh, but that's the truth. That's how it was.
I haven't opened up to any of the live comments yet, but this one sums up what I want to say right now. And Van Berken was really quite tired running back for that second goal. And then he just, Elliot breezed past Flamingo, who isn't a natural defensive midfielder. But like in that moment, he just went straight past him and then buried it. Yeah, the midfield was too easy to get through at that moment. Those subs didn't help that already. In the midfield, that it already had issues with a lack of a natural defensive midfield. It didn't have balance, basically, like Dutch teams would have a 6, an 8, and a 10. They probably have too many options in the 10 position. And yeah, it was unbalanced by the looks of it. And it showed with actually both goals, in my view.
Yes, both goals shows you how weak the midfield is. The midfield is pretty much the most important line in any team. If the midfield is not working well, the defense is not going to work well, and the offense is not going to work well. And that was obvious. The 2 goals came; they were very, very amateur mistakes. The attackers couldn't do anything since the midfield just disappeared in this match. I read Mike comment about Benzuzu, and he said the same thing. Now it really surprises me. I think he's the only player who did not get a single minute this entire tournament. Am I right? All the players played for at least 5 minutes, except for him. He did not play at all.
Only outfield player, I guess.
Who?
Only outfield player.
Yeah. I don't know why he didn't get a single minute. He could have tried him at least for this match, but that wasn't the case. And we paid the price, as simple as that, really.
Yeah, I really hope that there's a Dutch reporter who's going to ask him, because when you're taking off midfielders and bringing on left backs and right backs and players who have had a terrible tournament, and he's just sitting there on the bench, there's got to be a reason behind it, whether it's a case of in training he's just not been doing anything, he's been really slacking, and he's, attitude problem, then send him home. If you're not going to keep him there, just send him home. And yeah, you've got to wonder, because going into that tournament, he had a good season in Belgium. He's just signed for RB Leipzig for big money. He was wanted by all these Premier League clubs, and there's a lot of people wanting to see him in this tournament. I was excited about seeing him in this tournament, and then he gets 0 minutes, and Reisiger would rather play defenders in midfield instead of him. It seems very, very weird, and I really, really hope that when he does his press conference, somebody goes, well, what was that about? Because he needs to come out and say something, because right now it just looks really, really weird.
Yes.
Okay. This brings some of the live comments that people are throwing into us. Thank you very much for joining us on the live stream here, talking about the Inter-21s again, rather than the senior side. We have Dara here saying that Harvey Elliott was different. We just don't have that quality. LK also said that the team just doesn't have enough quality. But some praise for the goal. John says Noah Ohio's goal was electric. Ian Martin's amazing pass made that as well. Yeah, that was really nice how Ohio just like instinct slipped under the keeper. That was great. Very high quality. We've got the player selection again, of course, with the players that are missing. Another conversation topic we can talk about here. Kindle Gaines is here again. He's an England fan, remember from last time.
Yeah.
Casemiro has been slated a little bit as well for what he did in the game when he's been injured all season is a fair point. Good question here from Chris. Is there a third or fourth place playoff?
No, there isn't.
So I'm afraid we can't do another under-21s live stream, but I suppose if the under-19s do well, we can come back on at the weekend and talk about them. Yes. With other comments, let's have a look. Yeah, nothing to complain about reaching the semi-final. This younger Daniel generation is good. We lack quality. Just imagine reaching the final with Ohio as the main striker.
No, it's a good team. Some people maybe are making fun of some players, but I think it's a good team. Going to the semi-final is really something. Defeating Portugal with 10 players is something. And despite the bad performance against England, they only managed to score the winner in the last 5 minutes. And we could have scored before that. We had some attacks, but not a serious ones on goal, So I think this is a good team. We just need a better coach maybe, or to make the team well organized, to give some chances to the players who didn't really play.
Yeah, I think that we can get into individual performances, but I was expecting a lot more from Malambo today. I don't think he did really anything. I've seen a lot of people criticising him actually for the first goal, and yeah, he was taken off pretty quickly after that. Coming in for Taylor after people were baffled that he wasn't starting more regularly, and then I don't think he really turned up today. I think that Valente was really the only midfielder that showed any class, especially in the second half. He was creating some space. I just wish Valente's final ball or corner, free kicks, stuff like that, his delivery was a bit better, because every single time it seemed to just hit the first man. But at least he was trying to make things happen, whereas I think Malambo was a bit lost in that midfield.
Malambo played amazingly in the Champions League. I saw him in some matches against very high quality teams, top quality teams like Benfica, for example. He was man of the match, I remember, against Benfica, and he played well in some other matches in the Champions League, not in the Eredivisie. So obviously the player does have the potential, does have the quality. It's just again and again the team itself. It's not really well organized by Reisiger.
Lars came in with a comment about Banzuzi not looking good in the last practice match. I didn't see that against the Ivory Coast. Was he maybe carrying an injury throughout this tournament? That could be a reason why. I'm just speculating here.
Well, Casemiro was injured. Okay, he did not show quality at all, but he played. So I don't think this is the issue here. Something between Reisiger and Banzuzo. I don't know what it is really, but definitely it's not because he did not look good in the last practice. I don't think this is the reason.
Yeah, because Rozier looked terrible in the first game and he still played twice more. So, yeah, you can look bad in one game and then still get minutes. I think that if you said that about the players that, played in the first two group game, that, they wouldn't play again. They all played terribly. And, yeah, so you can't just say, oh, Banzuzi, you're not going to play because you played poorly in a friendly against Ivory Coast. Whereas, Rozier was shocking in, 45 minutes in the first game. But yeah, he still came back into the side. So, yeah, I think that there's definitely something else that's going on. And I guess we'll find out in the coming days, weeks, when Reisiger finally, or somebody actually has an interview with Banzuzi, because, he's just joining RB Leipzig. I'm sure there'll be interviews with him in the press in a few days.
Yeah, there are some really good players in this team. We expected more from some of them. Martin has come up with a couple of assists the last couple of games, but you think he's going to be like quite a leading light in the team. And then you've got Taylor in there. He didn't play his best. People like to slate him as it is. I'm someone that's been won over by Kenneth Taylor, but I don't think those are good performances from him in this tournament. Again, you've got the lack of a striker, lack of a CDM, playing plays out of position. And for me, Bjorn Meyer looks quite awkward. Like, I don't think he really looks like a quality player, like, unfortunately. And he's playing at a fairly high level too. Yeah, it's sad. I don't think he'll be playing in a top 5 competition, for example.
I think he reminds me of Mitchell Bakker. When he
good
was
shout.
playing, he was quite tall and quite awkward on the ball, and I think Meyer's a bit like that. So yeah, as I say, I don't see him reaching like top, full Dutch national team. But then again, that's who Reisger was bringing on when we had Salah Adin on the bench as well, who could have came on and played left back. But yeah, he wasn't chosen.
This brings a nice conversation, actually, segue into this. Which player do you expect to be picked up for the next Alanya qualification game? And people instantly coming back like, oh, Martin, because he's already kind of there. Harto's already kind of there. But there's, again, more criticism of Yado Harto. Like, is he Netherlands quality? Yeah, your thoughts on those things?
Well, I think Hato is Oranje quality. He's a very good player, in my opinion. He was the only one with a stable, with the how do I say this? With the same level, during the bad times of Ajax. He always showed his level. He was always consistent. So I do think he's a high quality player. But the problem is we have so many great defenders. I don't think he will have a chance to even selected in the first place. He might not be even selected. So I don't think any player from this team can make it to this World Cup qualifiers. We already have so many stars. The only player we are looking for is a striker, and this team doesn't have a world-class striker, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I think that by the time I think the next qualifiers are probably too early in the season for Koeman to change anything. But if you're looking at, say, October, I think by the time October comes around, I can't see any of these players that would make it into the squad. I mean, the only one that I was mildly impressed with today, but I think he's kind of at fault for goal one was Royce in goal. I think he made a couple of good saves in the first half, but then he gets beat as near post. So I thought that, he did well. If he goes to Ajax, then maybe, he becomes a chance of the third goalkeeper slot. But yeah, other than that, I can't see any of these players getting called up. I think the ones that were left at home or not picked because injuries have more of a chance. The Omegas, the Meerdinks, even players in the under-19 side, I'd say, have a better chance of reaching the Netherlands squad than anyone in this squad.
Slightly off topic here, but we had the fan come back. He's been watching since Euro 2024, which is a long time, considering he's not an Netherlands fan. Can he persuade us to support the Three Lions? Well, I'm the only English person here, and no, sorry. Kind of like him. I got Ollie Watkins. I'm a Villa fan. That's about it.
I think I'd be disowned by my country if I even said anything nice about England being Scottish. So yeah, I don't think I could do that.
Some extra things that have been brought in. People have been talking about Harto a little bit and how the team's got no number 6. I disagree with this comment. Is he better than Botman, Van Dijk, and so on and so? For me, you have to compare him with left backs. So is he better than Ake? No. Is he better than Hartman? Yes, at the moment. Going to Burnley now, Hartman. So, yeah, I think for that position, Harto at the minute is called up into the squad because he is probably the second best option that we have at the moment. But when everyone's fit, maybe he falls back out unless he really progresses next season playing in the Champions League.
He will be Hatta will be the third best option after Ake and Van de Ven. I think Van de Ven comes first, definitely. Ake second, and Hato third. Yeah, he's the third option.
Yeah, totally agree.
I think there was a slip of the tongue, Mike, from you about Roofs. Did you say he has a chance of being the third goalkeeper? Do you mean for the Netherlands here or Ajax? When I was listening, I was like, which did you mean again?
For Netherlands. So say he moves to Ajax.
Yeah. I see what you're saying now.
Because they were linked with him earlier in the summer. So if Ajax signed him, he became number 1 for Ajax, then he could be, he could battle for that third goalkeeper slot. I don't think he's better than Verbruggen. He's not going to get over Flecken at the moment.
But it's like him versus Nicolai, isn't it? Who's moving to PSV. So,
but I'd also rather see Owusu Aduro. So
Yeah.
But I think that he's maybe one of the only ones that could maybe make it if he keeps progressing. Because I think he did well today. I think, Harvey Elliott's first goal, beat him at the first post, but I don't think he was totally at fault for that. And then the second goal he had no chance with. So I think overall today I was happy with him. He claimed a lot of crosses as well.
Yeah.
He made 2 really excellent saves in the first half. So I think out of anyone in this game, I think he becomes, for me, he was man of the match.
Can Poku be a second option as a right winger after?
He's got to have a really good season, hasn't he?
Yeah, because I read this comment. That's why, it made me think
Yeah.
of him as a second option. Since we don't have a second option, it's only Frimpong as a right winger.
We got Marlon, Frimpong, Simons is playing there, right? Yeah, Pukki suddenly comes out of nowhere and scores lots from the right wing position. He's in there, but I don't see it.
Simons never really impressed as a right winger. Marlon, he's never good as a starter. I think you guys agree with me on this. Every time he comes as a sub, he plays better, But when he starts,
so does Poku. So
that's the problem. Yeah, I was just thinking about that actually. So Poku is pretty much the same. We need a second option for a right winger. We don't at the moment.
I think the problem with Poku is he's going to go back to AZ, and he's got a lot of competition for that right wing slot now. Jaden Adai has been linked with Como in Serie A, who are willing to pay 14 million for him. I think AZ want to keep him. I think Adai, for me, might have a better future than Poku. I think Poku relies heavily on pace.
Yeah.
And when he gets towards the box, he sort of forgets what to do with the ball. Sometimes I think take away the goal against Portugal was great. That was the most composure I've ever seen him have at this level. It was a great goal, but usually he runs and runs and runs and runs and then runs out of ideas and then loses the ball. And AZ fans will see that week in, week out when he plays for them. He doesn't score enough goals. He doesn't give enough assists. I think he really needs to have a good season next year, but he's going to have competition from Adai if he stays, Lado. There's other wingers that they have. Van Bommel obviously has the left back slot. So I think Poku, he really needs to improve on his finishing and his output in terms of assists before he even becomes mentioned for Ron Koeman to select.
Yeah, I think Adai, they should accept that. Personally, I think it's good money considering he hasn't played that much, but his potential is higher than Poku, and I actually don't see him staying at AZ for many years more. Poku, I think that he will have an okay season maybe and then go somewhere else. But is he AZ material? They've got other wingers too. But anyway, this isn't a podcast about AZ at the minute, is it? But yeah, I agree. Van Bommel's going to hopefully nail down that left wing position for AZ next year, and maybe he becomes an option for the national team. But at the moment, he doesn't quite look at that level to see. So a big season of progress needed from a number of those AZ players. Someone's saying now in the comments that they missed Van Bommel today, someone that can shoot. So maybe he was someone that was carrying a threat for the Dutch in this tournament.
Yeah, one of the things about Van Bommel is that he keeps the ball with him for too long, and that maybe reduces the pressure on our defenders a little bit, and keep the ball in the English side. We really needed that in this match. Unfortunately, he wasn't available. But having him with Oranje as a left winger, now we have Gakpo and then Noah Lang. He could be the third option. I cannot think of a third option really. So he could be the third option at the moment.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Danjuma is meant to be coming back to PSV. It was rumoured, so him back in the Eredivisie obviously opens him back up to being a national team player.
Danjuma is 28 now, and he did not really have a successful career, so far. He's been benched in many teams he played for. Did not really impress that much when he came in. So I don't know if he has a chance to play with Oranje.
Yeah, much depends on how it goes next season, because I know it's not an Eredivisie podcast, but PSV are selling a lot of players. Noah Lang's going to Napoli, so if Noah Lang sort of doesn't burst into that side, gets benched by Napoli, then Ron Koeman might not select him, then he has to look elsewhere for players who are playing. And then, it's a lack of options at the moment, and that means Van Bommel, if he does have a great season at AZ, then he could come into it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think this might be time to wrap up today. Unfortunately, Netherlands couldn't get through to the final, but we've still got the under-19s to think about. So perhaps before we finish, just a note on the under-19s playing their final tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Do you think they'll win?
We have the quality to win. We have what it takes to win. I saw the match between Spain and Germany. The Spanish team is very strong, but we also have a very strong team. The chance, I think, is 50-50. So I really hope we win.
Yeah, I think it comes down to whether the Dutch defence can keep them out. I mean, Spain looked full of threat against Germany, but their defence also looks like it could be got at. So I think it's going to be, as I say, 50-50, but I'm hoping that Keith Smith plays the key role. He's been playing a tournament so far, so if
he's been excellent, hasn't he?
Yeah, if he continues like he has been and carries his team with Tiger Land behind him, then I think the Netherlands have a great chance of winning, which would be great to see. Under 21s against semi-final, under 19s winning a tournament. It sort of proves that maybe Koeman needs to start looking at the next generation. And under 19 players will hopefully all be breakouts for Eredivisie clubs next season.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone enjoys that game tomorrow if they're going to stick to watching some Dutch football. One more game, I suppose, before the season really does finish. The next one begins. We may well be back the weekend if we have good things to talk about the under-19s. We might do a special podcast, which is going to be available on YouTube and audio platforms as well. It's been a while since we released them over there after doing lots of live streams. But in terms of looking ahead at the content, probably looking at having a mini break from the YouTube stuff over the summer break for clubs, and we'll be back with the usual stuff at the start of the next season. Definitely that season preview podcasts for the Eredivisie and some other things as well. So lots of things you can look forward to. But thank you all for joining us. These podcasts we didn't think we were doing about a month ago, but we wanted to kind of elongate our stuff that we did because we enjoy it too much, and we know that you enjoy it too much as well listening. So thanks for listening, and thank everyone for your thank yous in the comments. Yeah, we wouldn't do it without you being here. So we'll be back soon with more, potentially with under-19s chat, and then after that we'll probably back at the start of the next season. So thanks everyone. If you are watching live, drop a comment down below now about what you thought of the game. And we will do a plug for the scarves. Oh no, he's talking about the scarves again. Better go off now then. So Football-Oranje scarf, come and get yourself one. There's a link in the description to support what we do at Football-Oranje. Thanks everyone, and see you soon. See you in the next one. Bye.
See you.